Ruth and Bob, would you guys, I got a couple seats up here for you guys for the, giving the plaques out. We're going to start here in about 15 seconds when Tim Poehler comes and sits down. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kenley Walleen. I'm the activities director here at the Ada Borup West High School. I welcome our guests, our Hall of Fame inductees, their families and friends, as well as the members of our Hall of Fame committee and community members who are in attendance today. KRJB is also live streaming the event, so I welcome viewers near and far. Please visit yourliveevent.com. Inductees, we are very proud of you. Your accomplishments have and will continue to inspire our students, staff, and communities. I am glad that we now have a Hall of Fame in place to always remember and honor your excellence and contributions to our communities. Today we honor the very best. We are so proud to have our inductees and representatives with us today. Thank you for remaining part of the Ada Borup West family, and now I'm going to turn it over to our MC, Jim Birkemeyer.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kenley. Thank you for asking me to and trusting me to be the MC this afternoon. One quick note for, it's not always good when a broadcaster gets up here and the microphone's not working. It makes me a little bit uneasy, but don't worry, we'll get there. One quick note for inductees and your family and friends. There will be an opportunity for photos after today's induction ceremony. So we'll have the photos after the ceremony this afternoon. I also know today that I'm not alone when I say thank you, Kenley. You've organized, you've communicated, and you've provided the leadership to form this committee to begin the Ada Borup West Hall of Fame. It's been something that's been talked about for several years, and to see it happen and come to today's ceremony is a true blessing. I've been able to meet many people throughout my years, and I'm very surprised and I'm very honored that of the 9 inductees today, I have some or a form of a connection to all. If I can, if you'll allow, just to share a quick thing about the 9. Judy Peterson was the first volleyball coach that I would meet and that I would interview when I came back to my home state of Minnesota. Les Drechsel, I got to work with in his later years when he was at Red Lake Falls and doing some interviews. Darin Everson, you were part of the first Cougar broadcast for myself. Sherman Moe, I found out last night that some of your family relatives I've known and have become personal and business friends for the past 30 years and did not know that they were related to you until last night. Punk Johnson was our neighbor when we first moved to Ada and would often come to my office to visit with me to tell me what he was working on next. The 2008 Lady Cougar basketball team, well, I was there. 1962, since I moved to Ada, many stories have been shared about your team, and to visit with the likes of Dean Boyer in this past week and to hear him talk about his days and the relationship with Al Meyer, who I got to know and work with over at Mayville State, and to talk to Herb Haas and to find out that his days he would play with the likes of Jim Dew and Hank Bajou, 2 coaches very successful in North Dakota College sports, that I would also be part of their broadcast and have interviewed them through the years. And also Dan Ruoff. The connections continued, as I did not know until recent years, when his son-in-law is the Hall of Famer himself, the legend, Larry Knutson. And then there's this guy. Wow, a privilege, a blessing, great moments, memories, and a lot of fun. And I hope that those words continue through this afternoon's ceremony as we hear the stories behind those that are coming into the inaugural class of 2021 Ada Borup West Hall of Fame. So let's continue with the excitement, and we welcome for remarks and comments for each of these inductees. And I would like to welcome Jeremy Peterson and his family to come forward for today's first induction.
Thank you, Jim. This is all new to me. So we knew we were supposed to do a memory, some thank yous, and in Judy's honor, we'll keep it short and sweet. So we'll get, I'd like to start with thanking everyone here today. It's truly an honor for my family and I to represent Judy. Introductions, if you don't know me, Jeremy Peterson, I'm her nephew, accompanied by my lovely wife, Chris, my oldest, Brennan, my middle son, and as Judy would say, the forgotten child when you're in the middle, Drew, and my youngest right behind me here is Aiden. She meant the world to us and was everything to us. She was not only an aunt, she was a best friend and a grandma wrapped up into one. If we needed anything, she was there. She had an incredible bond with my three boys, and we miss her every day. There's so many ways to describe her. She was reliable, driven, quiet, you name it. And when I think of one such description, quiet, it brings me back to last week when Jim and I were going over our interview for her. Jim had brought up a few memories about how Judy was a tough one to track down. She didn't like interviews, so she would maybe hide or maybe say an assistant coach could do it for her. So I guess it really doesn't come to a surprise that she's not here with us for this. When it came to acknowledgement or any type of attention brought towards her, she would find a way to blend into the crowd or even disappear. Uh-oh, I think I'm messing around with this, Jim. All right. She was soft-spoken, very, very humble. However, if she was here, she would definitely have been honored to be recognized for her accomplishments, both in the classroom and as a coach. To kind of move things up, I did want to do a few thank yous. We're going to start with thank you to Moorhead State University for taking a chance on a girl from small rural town, Ada, Minnesota. You allowed her to start pursuing her dreams in teaching and to become a three-sport athlete at the collegiate level. Her legacy at MSUM will forever be remembered with her 2011 Dragon Hall of Fame induction. She was part of the 1970s women's student athletes called the Trailblazers. And we're still trying to confirm if she actually showed up to that ceremony. We're not really sure yet. Thank you to Ada High School and the administration for hiring Judy in the fall of 1978 as a Phi Ed and special education teacher. Soon thereafter, she became a coach. Her journey lasted nearly 38 years and allowed her to become an unforgettable teacher and develop into one hell of a coach. Thank you to all our students and players over the years that had Judy as a teacher and or a coach here at Ada Borup. Please know she loved each and every one of you, wanted all of you to succeed no matter what life had to throw at you. You meant the world to her. A special thank you to the 1994 and 95 volleyball teams. Be proud of your accomplishments those seasons. You set the standards for all future Cougar volleyball teams. Your coach is looking down on you with a big smile and admiration. Thank you to all the staff and those that coached with her both at Ada High School and Ada Borup High School. You had a positive influence on her when it came to teaching, coaching, and becoming the person she was. You weren't just co-workers, you were friends and family. Thank you to the Ada Borup West Hall of Fame Committee and nominations for Judy. Even though she's probably stomping around up in heaven right now, mad just knowing we're talking about her and how wonderful she was, we all know how honored she would be with this accomplishment. And lastly, congratulations to all the inductees in this year's class, 2021 Ada Borup West Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Our next inductee, I've been asked to read this and to present this on behalf of the family. I'm grateful that they've asked me to do so. It's been submitted by Kathy, Barb, and Joanne, the daughters of Dan Ruoff and Ada High School alums. Dad's first teaching job was in Sebeka in 1939. After 2 years, Dad was offered a coaching and teaching position in Ada. Along with him came his bride, Dorothy. A Twin City girl was faced with a move to the outer reaches of the state. Grandma Ruoff even commented, "Poor Dorothy." Grandpa Sibold replied, "Poor Dorothy, nothing." And as it turned out, Grandpa Sibold was right. Living and working in Ada was the best decision. Small town life provided and proved to be a blessing. As a successful coach, teacher, and community leader, Dad was offered sports-related job opportunities elsewhere. It was always an easy decision to make. Stay in Ada. Ada had become home. Friends and neighbors had become family. Dad enjoyed his job. He dearly loved the students and staff at the school. He respected and admired the work ethic and integrity of the area farmers, business owners, community clubs, and service organizations. Ada was the perfect place to raise a family. As we girls grew up and left Ada to work and raise our own families, Dad and Mom continued to live in Ada. Several years after retirement, our parents moved to Moorhead to be closer to grandchildren, but always staying close to Ada. Dad loved to visit with old friends and students. Maybe some of you remember seeing him at a coffee shop or a shopping mall. Dad would hail you down with a robust, "Whatto! Whatto!" Quite a few minutes later, you might have been able to go back to your business. With a happy tear in his eye, Dad couldn't wait to share the moment with family. Thank you, Ada Borup West, for this recognition of our dad. He and Mom would be so humbled and honored. His greatest joy would be to see and congratulate all of the inductees, their families, and to share this day with you. If Dad was here, he would say with a happy tear, "I love you, and God bless you. Go Ada Borup West Cougars." Kathy, Barb, and Joanne. The inductee, Dan Ruoff. For our next inductee, Sherman Moe, I welcome Doug Moe and family.
Good afternoon. On behalf of my dad, I'd like to thank the committee for all the work that went into this weekend and nominations and all that. He was very touched by it. Also, it's sort of like a family reunion. We got a bunch of guys here, so I got aunts and uncles and cousins all teamed up together to help celebrate, partly because my dad can't make it for health reasons. So it's good to have, let's see, I got my cousin Todd and Lana, Jill and Beth, and my uncle Stan and Jeannie. And Jeannie's my dad's sister. I think, is that everybody? All right. And my wife Susan. I forgot Susan. And Rick, another cousin Rick. All right, I think we got everybody. So family is an important thing, and so it's neat that we can get together and we'll have a good time this afternoon. Also like to congratulate all the other people that were nominated and selected. It's going to be neat to hear all the stories and the accomplishments that everyone's been able to do. So my dad can't make it, but I could tell that this meant so much to him. He's had a lot of other honors. He was in the Moorhead State Hall of Fame, and he taught and coached at Duluth East. He's in the Duluth East Hall of Fame. But there's something special about your hometown Hall of Fame. You know, when you grow up, that's where your foundations are set. And to be in terms of basketball, to have a chance at a successful shot, you got to have a good solid foundation. And that's what, talking with him, he said growing up in Ada and the history that was there and the different people that mentored him, it's established that solid foundation, a great launching pad to head off into college and beyond. So he's very thankful for the memories and the things that happened here at Ada. So he's was able to do a lot of things. He's excelled in basketball. That was the one sport that just came naturally to him and he did really well at. He also played baseball and football and track, and so he was an all-around athlete. And he enjoyed his teammates, you know, all through all the different sports, playing with them and the camaraderie that you have. The one thing that it was sort of unique, he was coming down the school steps one afternoon when Coach McMullen caught him and said, "Hey, you should sign up for this thing called the Teenage Rodeo." And he's like, "What in the world is that?" And so what it was a driving competition where you drove between obstacles frontwards and then backwards, trying not to knock little balls or things off the barriers. And so just on a whim, he went and did that. And nationwide, there was like 500,000 contestants, and he ended up going all the way to the finals and took 13th in the nation in this driving rodeo thing. And through that, he got to meet President Eisenhower. He got a scholarship from that, and he also got a car. So just by the chance of doing that. And he said on a lot of those competitions, he ended up winning by just 1 point throughout the regions and districts and all that stuff. And he shared a funny story. One of the competitions was down in St. Cloud, so Coach Ruoff was saying, "Hey, we're going down there. My family and I are going down there. You can catch a ride with us and just be at the school at like 5 in the morning." He's like, "Oh boy, well, I'll go there early and I'll just sleep in the back of the car on the way down." And he said he got in the car, and the coach's 3 young daughters wanted to play and visit with him the whole trip, so he never got any sleep and ended up still was able to perform well, but he thought that was sort of funny. He thought he'd get a nice restful ride to St. Cloud, and it turned out otherwise. He also, sort of funny, they played a game against Halstead, and he scored 47. I think that was one of his highest games, was a 47-point outing. And I thought, well, that's sort of interesting. Why Halstead did he have such a good game? Well, lo and behold, his future bride is from Halstead, and I think maybe he was trying to impress her. And most of those were against her brother, too, so. Anyway, I thought that was sort of funny. Since he couldn't be here, he did send me a letter, so I want to read that. This is what he wrote. So, in his words, I am humbled by this honor. None of this would be possible without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who has guided my steps throughout my life, and the loving support of my wife of 63 years, Evelyn Lervold. We have been married for 63 years and are still going strong. As a young man growing up in Ada, sports became my outlet. I played football, baseball, track and field, and basketball. Basketball became my sport's true love, but also was my golden ticket to college and my future career. Many thanks to all the people along the way who helped in basketball. They helped me not only to succeed as an athlete, but also in my personal and professional life. My coaches and teachers taught me the game and the importance of strong academics, which spurred me on to graduating college cum laude. Additionally, I learned from my teammates and opponents. Some of the lessons he learned as a basketball player is teamwork, because it's not just a solo game, it's a team game. Commitment, this applies to sports as well as life, whether in sports, your job, or relationships. And keep working till the final bell. Hard work and never give up. His best buddy was his brother Harold, who was all-conference football player and the center on their basketball team. They got to play together for many, many years throughout their high school years. And that was, he's going to treasure those memories now as he realizes the blessings of family. He also very thankful for Coach Dan Ruoff and Harvey McMullen, as well as all his other teammates. But again, he just is very touched and moved by this honor, especially this is where he grew up, this is his foundation, and it means the world to him. So thank you on behalf of my dad, and congratulations to everyone else.
Our next inductee, Les Drechsel. We welcome for remarks and comments Snooky Drechsel and family.
I'm sure you can't believe this, but I don't even have any notes or anything. And I'm sure former students can't believe that I'm only going to talk for a couple minutes. And I do have a tremor. I'm not nervous. It's just the fact that I do not, the doctors confirmed that I do not have Parkinson's, but I have essential tremor. And so when there's a little bit of stress in my life, which is almost every day, I shake. So anyhow, first of all, I want you to meet my family. And John was we left here in 1971, and we moved to Crookston, and we had been here for 12 wonderful years. I had encouraged Drex to apply for a job here because I knew what the culture was like in Ada. I grew up in Twin Valley, so I knew exactly what the culture was like here. It was not exactly a friendly place, maybe, because we wanted to beat Ada in whatever it might be. And if we did it, we could have had a lousy season, but if we could just beat Ada, we had a successful year. Okay, my family, John is son number 1. He was in kindergarten, about to start kindergarten when we moved to Crookston. The next one standing to him would be Chris, and he lives in Washington, D.C. Next is John's son. That went off, didn't it? Or not? Okay, is John's son, Zach, and his wife, and then little granddaughter is Melissa. They probably cut me off. I don't know what the interview said, but they probably cut me off because I talked too much. Dean Boyer, who was going to be here, I think the last time we saw each other, we talked probably for like about 4 hours during a ball game. He was supposed to be scouting. Well, I don't think he did too much scouting. Someone asked me about stories about Drex. I could go on and on and on about stories about Drex, but you would be here for a long, long, long time. But I think when Drex first came here, and in all of his coaching, he always stressed basics. And if you know the basics, then you can do whatever you are doing better. And lo and behold, some of the boys, men, were talking about a game that they had played at Red Lake Falls. And when he had cancer, and his last teaching position, well, he wasn't teaching at the time, but he was coaching. And don't you suppose we were at Red Lake Falls? We were still living in Crookston, but he was driving back and forth to Red Lake Falls. And they named the football field after Drex. But these men were talking about the game that we had at Red Lake Falls, and several of the kids were injured. And I can remember after that game that I was sitting with one of the families when one of the students had been checked out at the hospital. But here was a football field named after Drex. Okay, what I'm going to read was given a blessing for Drex at his funeral. And at this time, Drex was, let's see, I guess she was in charge of the speech activities at Crookston, Sister Mary Ann Stewart. And she had written this for Drex, a blessing for Drex. I'll try not to shed any tears. The God of all heavens blesses you as your life has blessed ours. You have filled the table of our lives with loving care. You have nurtured us with values. You provided us with calm. You assured us with trust. You taught us to dream. You encouraged us to reach. You comforted us in defeat. You are coach. You are teacher. You are healer. You are safe harbor. You are husband, father, grandfather, coach. Dedicated to my dear friend, Drex. Sister Mary Ann Stewart, October 5th, 2000.
Gus was a good guy.
And thank you so very much to the administration. And we were really very fortunate to be with, see, I told you I wouldn't finish. To the administration and all the support that we got from parents and from the students.
Our next inductee is Darin Everson. Ever, I welcome you up to the podium.
All right. I love masks, right? I love masks. So let's just start with this first. I'm here with a mask on because I actually leave for Scottsdale for spring training or instructional league tomorrow. And I have to make sure that I am there. Even I'm vaccinated, all that stuff, but I got to wear a mask to make sure that we get through this all right. When I land there, tested twice, got to be positive. You've all been through it, right? So welcome to my world of professional baseball. They don't care what you think about the virus. They just know you wear one of these. So it is what it is. My mom and dad are here, obviously with Bob as well. And if I let them come up here, they might be crawling around up here too for some more entertainment. So we're gonna make sure that they're staying in their area. Paul Miller, another part of my extended family, is here too. It's great to have him. Who knows what he would do? I don't think he'd crawl around because of his knees, but we might. We were talking out back. I totally forgot about it. The things that I remember about him is us beating each other up, right? And if you lived over by Ray Hendrickson's house, you heard us playing all the time over there. But the process of that was he started talking about tennis. So you can imagine Paul and I out playing tennis when we were 17 and 18 years old, trying to figure out a new sport. Like, what the hell are we trying to do? The other good thing about this microphone, if it keeps going in and out, I'm kind of known for having a big Phi Ed voice. I was a Phi Ed teacher for 7 years, so if this goes out, you're probably still going to hear me fine. So I apologize if it's too loud. And Paul can definitely account for my big mouth for sure. But seriously, this has been a great thing when it took Kenley probably, I don't know, how many attempts? Probably 15, 12 attempts to try to get a hold of me. I don't like doing Facebook. I don't answer calls. I don't know the number to, so I don't check messages. And then finally we connected, and I said, seriously, this is going to be great. And so thank you for all of this, setting this up, man. You're going to hear me talk about impact and leadership, and you've been here now for 2 years, and obviously you had this show up too, which is awesome. But to have this and have the Hall of Fame and have all these people here, congratulations and thank you for all you're doing already for him. Give him a big round of applause, please. There's I was going to talk to you about apologizing in advance, because one of the things with professional baseball and just coaching in general is I definitely somewhere along the line got the gift of gab. So if I start walking around and get around this thing a little bit and to get away from it, I apologize. Like I said, you're still going to hear me, but I'm going to be here a couple of minutes because I'm going to talk about some of the stories that we've had. Congratulations to all of the other Hall of Fame people that are here and teams. It was awesome to listen to all their interviews. I love doing background. I love the history of everything that I'm a part of. And to actually go back and listen to all the interviews and listen to all the things, I actually took some notes down because there's some people that I have direct connection with, a lot of Mayville State connection stuff, which I eventually ended up my third year. I was three schools in 3 years, but eventually got there. But just the amount of impact in this inaugural class that we have, the impact, the leadership that's out there, all the stories that you're already hearing. You know, to be a small part of that with this inaugural class is awesome. And it's great for me to be able to come back and see my family, see my mom and my dad and Bob, of course, And there's a 100% chance that I'm going to talk a lot, and there's a 100% chance that my mom will be crying if she's not already. So as we roll through, if you hear that, it's just like when we're in basketball and she's up in the balcony, I could hear her say, "Go get him, Darin." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to go get him." And the old Jim, Paul's back there laughing his ass off because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. "Is that your mom?" "Yep, that's my mom. There she is. There she is. There she is." But the family back home, they couldn't make it here. I have twin daughters, Darin and Taylor. They're freshmen in high school, and Lord help girls in high school. Sweet Jesus. Woo! So this is going to be interesting. I need to get a big league job, so I'm there even less, maybe. But the other piece to that is my son he's 19 now. He's at University of Minnesota. He's playing baseball there. It's a great thrill. One of the big reasons I'm actually also wearing this is that they just got shut down with COVID. One guy got it. And so then now the fall is done. It was family weekend, so I get to spend a little more time with Paul later on, which is good. I don't know if that's good for the town, but it's good for us. But as we go through the process, my wife Terry has been with me forever, it seems like, and we got married here in Ada. She did not have a place that she thought was great, and she saw Grace Lutheran Church, and then we got married here, which was awesome. To be able to have her come here and have in front of all of our family here, which was very, very cool. Punk Johnson, I'm just going to go through some of the notes and stuff that I made. The support that he offered to so many people was unbelievable. The foundational stuff that he had, which I was a part of, scholarship-wise, which is very cool. The positive energy. Did anyone ever see him frown or not be positive? It was unbelievable, right? So just all that stuff that he had, it's great to go in with him. Once again, the impact of what he did throughout the community and the support that he had or gave us as we went through. Sherman Moe, Morehead State basketball star, legendary coach up in Duluth, man, with the hoops. I heard some stories about it, and just it would be. I don't know the man, but it's great to go in with him. Dan Ruoff, former Minnesota Gopher grad, so there's a connection there with my son. Hopefully he's a grad. We'll see. It's a tough school. I found that out in the recruiting process. You get recruited from different schools and blah blah blah, and you're going through the process, and you're like, well, there's different academics. Like, woo, all right, Minnesota, that's top line school. So he's doing great there, and I'm happy for that. But 39 years of teaching, it's unbelievable. So to do that. Helped develop the golf course, which I'm sure I chewed up and made so many holes out there when I tried to golf back in the day. I have 2 sets of clubs at the house, don't use them now. The baseball field, the basketball jamboree, the summer rec program that I was a part of in terms of coaching it and actually running it in my last couple of years here in Ada. Les Drechsel, the coaching legend with the undefeated football season. I don't know how many times the football seasons, man. That's unbelievable. To go undefeated in anything, doesn't matter if it's tiddlywinks or football in a full season or, that's unbelievable. So Snooki, great job there. Judy Peterson, I actually coached with Judy Peterson. And we did 7th and 8th grade basketball. I was done at Mayville State. I think I just got done doing Fargo North student teaching. And came back and we did 7th and 8th grade basketball together. And everything that Jeremy, the killer, I talked to my brother yesterday. I said, well, he's going to be there. What do you got for me? And he said, Stoney called him killer. So I don't know if your kids knew that or not, but now they know. You gotta describe that. You have to describe that story to them. So he was trying to tell me he had 2 different stories. I'm not going to go through either one of them, but you can explain that to your kids later on. But Judy being that quiet leader for sure. I remember all the volleyball stuff, and I was in college when they went to state and did their thing there, which is great. The 08 basketball team, the first one to win a state title here, which is unbelievable. Obviously how good Dave's daughter Nicole was, all that stuff. Dave is a guy that texted me the other day. I don't know, a couple days ago, Smarty, right? So I love that his last name is Smart, because you can add another word to the after Smart, because it's perfect. So I get a text. I haven't talked to Dave in forever, and he says, "Hey man, congratulations." I say, "Hey, thanks." This is all in text. He goes, "Hey, What the funny thing is, and Spike will know this, and Paul will know this, and some other people that maybe try to play basketball with us on Wednesday nights, he goes, the funny thing is they must not have done their full research, because if they did their full research, they'll know how many games you actually won on Wednesday men's league basketball, which is 0, and you would have never made the Hall of Fame because of that. So, Dave, it was great to catch up with you there, and good to see you now. The 62 boys basketball team, all I can think of is Hoosiers, right, Herb? I mean, just the whole process and all that stuff. And last time I saw Herb was at on a baseball field in Crookston, coaching against my dad, and I'm trying to figure out how to play high school baseball at the time. And, but just the connections with Dean Boyer. Last time I saw Dean Boyer, he was recruiting me at Mankato State. To hear all the stories, it brings back all the stories I heard of all the back in Mayville State stuff, all the coaches and the baseball program and all that stuff, and our conference championship wall that we have up there, Herb, that is great with all that stuff there. But the Hoosiers piece, to go through that and kind of hear the stories with the interviews was awesome, because it reminded me of how we did it here in Ada. The old gym was unbelievable. The balcony, how many balconies are out there where people could sit, and that's where my mom sat up there, which was great. Front row, and don't take your seat because she would let you know. But that process was great. Some of the things I remember so much about growing up is some of the Little League stuff. You know, some guys that made impact with me. Jungle Jim Wagner was unbelievable for youth basketball. I remember him telling me how good I was going to be in basketball, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, and did our thing. But we grew up playing basketball with Jim Wagner being our guy, and then he was our Legion coach for years, and just all the impactful things that they were able to help us with. If you ever lived over by or you drove by the courthouse 30 years ago, you'd see it, or 35, 40 years ago now, you'd see us playing Little League baseball, football across Tom Sorensen's field as well. We got the field. We go to Randy Olson's place, and we play wiffle ball outside and inside their garage, which his mom loved. We had, we kept stats. Jeremy, I don't know if you remember my brother telling stories. He found a bunch of stuff at the house when we cleaned it out about the different stats that we kept writing down, and we're talking youth baseball, basketball, football, running around, and we're keeping stats like we're keeping analytics now in the big leagues, which was crazy. Mom and Dad, you guys pushing me to keep doing stuff and doing my thing all the time. It was great to have that. My dad was kind of along for the ride with this, I think, but my mom was like, you're going to do everything. And I mean everything. Gymnastics. Yep. 4-H, choir, bands, summer camps, church groups. I mean, off the charts. Of course, every sport that came through the system. But one person that's glad I finally stopped playing something was Mr. Holland, because I stopped my last year playing trumpet, which I'm sure was just agonizing for him for 3 years at the high school. Trying to play trumpet, and I finally stopped playing my last year, and I'm sure the band was way better off without me. The work ethic that I got to watch you guys do, and Mom with daycare and Dad with the teaching for the 30-plus years here, and all the coaching you guys did, man, it showed me how to treat people. It showed the foster care stuff that you guys did, which was interesting with the household too. That was always an interesting piece, but just the ability for you guys to always be there supporting wise, always finding ways to get me to a camp at NDSU or something like that. Paul, I remember back in the day, getting the stupid shoes that we all wanted for no reason, the Jordans and all that stuff as they went through. But some of the other things too, growing up, some of the names that some of the people that have been here for a while will probably remember. I remember going to watch basketball games where my dad was either coaching or being a part of it, and my mom would take us. We'd get some burgers and go out, and we'd go to see Dave Rund. We'd go to see Corey Ock go play basketball, and all that passion of all this. It was like, what are we doing? This town is crazy for hoops, and when I saw that as a kid, I wanted to be a part of that. And it really pushed me to being to get to the point where I did in basketball, which went okay. Bert could probably tell some more stories about that. I don't like talking about that much, but it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. The amateur baseball, where my dad would let me play as a 7th grader with 40-year-old men. But here's where some of the other stuff came from, because then I was more pissed off about playing because every time that my spot came up, it was an automatic out. I was not happy. I thought I could get a hit off everyone out there. It was crazy. I was talking about the basketball players, David Runn, Steve Olson, all those guys going through the crowds, the drives, just like in Hoosiers where you have all the lights going to the town. That's what it was like going to all these basketball games back in the day, as many of you remember. And so the whole town would go there, which was unbelievable. My sister Dawn would be cheerleading and doing her thing. Some of the guys that we played with and talked about with Burke on the interview, just about the process of all the great teammates we had. We had obviously Paul Miller, who I'm going to tell some stories about in here in a second, which he's looking forward to a lot. But Sean Ellingson, Peter Holmvik, the Markusons, Bill Jacobson, Peter Fetting, J.J. Kappas, Gary Visser, Tom Sorensen, all those guys, right? I'm probably missing a bunch of them, but damn, it's pretty awesome. To be able to go through and have that group of people that kind of came through the school at that time really made it a lot of fun. Impact guys that were also leadership guys. Jim Hand was a huge piece for me with basketball. He basically let us go run the show and figure out how to do it. Paul and I got to wear long shorts our senior year, which we thought was the coolest thing in the world. Everyone else was still wearing the diaper shorts, which I wore for 4 years there. But then again, Jeff Stone, who's one of my foundational rocks with coaching and teaching, that type of stuff with. As a sophomore, I was a fullback as a freshman. As a sophomore, he put me in the quarterback position and allowed me to be in this leadership role that at the time I wasn't sure of, but as it grew, man, it was great. I ended up playing 3 years of college football as a quarterback, and I owe a lot of the leadership stuff and the impact that Jeff made on myself and my career to that, the foundational rocks of the coaching stuff. My dad, of course being my baseball coach, forever, and coaching and everything else, and kicking my where when I needed to be, and that type of thing. But moving me from shortstop and pitcher to catcher as a junior to be in that leadership role. If we don't make those, if he don't makes those changes, doesn't make those changes, who knows where things may have gone different ways. The pregame dinners up at Bob's Cafe, begging mom and dad for some money so I could go pay for it up there, and that type of stuff with just all the good friends, the teammates, all that stuff. You remember those. You probably were part of some of that. And then Ray Hendrickson's place, where Paul and I spent hours, days and hours, where my family, the nice thing about growing up in Ada, your kid could go where they needed to back then, for sure. And I don't know, I hope it's that way still, but man, we're talking turning the lights on because he knew we were going to be there for another 3 hours playing and beating up. Come out and check every once in a while because we ran into his garage door all the time and made little dents here and there all over the place, tearing down the backboard sometimes, you never know. But all that stuff there was just, many stories that we can't really tell in mixed company here, Paul. But the ability to go and compete against you every day made us so much better as we got on the courts and then eventually the football field too. And baseball for a little bit too with you. As I look back too, I start totaling up the years. Now next year, if I'm fortunate enough to have another 1-year contract, which is professional baseball, everything's a 1-year contract deal. Next year will be my 25th year in professional baseball, which is unbelievable. I'm getting old fast. And to be 25 years as a scout and a coach and different things that I'm doing, some of the coolest things we get to do is tell kids that they've achieved and reached their dream of going to the big leagues. Sitting in that room and being able to tell and come up with different unique ways to tell them that they're going to the big leagues is one of the coolest things in the world. And that's what I remember the most about, or what I really love and cherish about professional baseball is no matter where it is, you're always trying to get that kid a little bit better, just like we do when we coach here. We coach anywhere. When I was a coach, I always tried to make, I was a girls basketball coach for years, obviously high school coach too. We tried to make our place where we were at, where our feet are at, trying to make that the World Series, trying to make that the Super Bowl for those kids. And having that happen a lot with different things in pro ball has been great. A couple guys know who Mike Stanton is. I'll tell a quick story about Mike. You guys know him as John Carlos Stanton now. He gets drafted and he's 6'6", and he's an athlete like crazy with the Marlins. This guy could run. He was going to play wide receiver at, I believe it was USC. And he had not hit a home run in rookie ball. And obviously you guys know, if you don't follow baseball at all, Mike Stanton hits it about 110 miles an hour every time he hits it. So he comes up to us, and I'm managing him, and he hits his first home run, and everyone is thrilled, but it's a foul ball. And it felt like it was 700 feet. The next pitch, he hits a fair home run, and the guys went crazy because it was his first time. And now you see, that's the cool thing that happens in pro ball, is that you get to see these guys grow and kind of be their people that they grow up into. And it's great to see not only them, but even the kids when I did junior high basketball here, or coach girls basketball at Oregon, Wisconsin, to see people kind of grow through their process and be part of, or to really just turn into a person that can really make an impact for other people to watch, to help them become better. I can't wait to hear from the teams as well, because it's being in a team sport, it's unbelievable. Baseball's unique that way too. But one thing that I've learned over the years is we need to always be where our feet are at. Okay, so wherever you're at, make that place the best place. Be present. If you're present, you always have a chance to make an impact. And all the people in this room and all the people that are attached to the first Hall of Fame here, the impact and leadership that you guys are bringing to the room, it's great to be a part of it, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, so now I purposely didn't bring his guy's name up because I knew that he'd be doing just like this. So this guy right here has been such an impact for the whole town here in Ada. Talk about being everywhere at 100% of the time. This guy has been to every main event for the last 30-some years, and I was fortunate enough to be there as a junior when you first showed up. And the impact he made, one story I want to tell about you is when I was able...
Wait, microphones don't work anymore.
Is when I was able to score my 1,000th point up in Bagley, and we're sitting there, and I got my diaper shorts still on, right? And as a junior, those tight uniforms, you got to love it, right?
He was built.
But we're going through there, and he hands me this microphone that I still feel the tingles on from back in the day. The technology's gotten a little bit better on that. But this guy right here has done so much for us, for the town, the community, and all the stuff that he now owns and kind of spreads out throughout the upper Midwest here. Give him a big round of applause before I leave.
Thank you, Darin. Way too kind. But remember, the rules of Burke are when I'm on the microphone, I get the last word. If I can, just for a quick 10 seconds, share a quick smile here. I even remember after the baseball games going over to Jim and Bobby's house and Darin, and Coach Jim and we'd have to rehash the game with a beverage. Darin would come home. Hey, Mom, here's my duffel bag. Can you wash this? And I'm hungry. Great memories. Thank you. Thank you very much. The next inductee is Delford Punk Johnson. I'd like to welcome Claire Deggerness, his daughter.
I'm here with my husband, Marv Deggerness, a Gary boy. He came in and thought these chairs looked so great that he's just enjoying sitting in one, and I told him not to come up and stand behind me. I feel very privileged to be here accepting this award in honor of my father, but I'd also like to unofficially accept it for my mother, Betty Johnson. My parents had very different personalities from each other, but they were both in the same way supportive of the Ada community and really acted as a team in that way. I know that my dad would be very humbled to be included in the company of this first class of recipients. As I looked through the list for the first time, I was aware of many relationships that Dad had with other members, and I guess I'm following a pattern that has developed here that we talk about the recipients' relationships with each other. Dan Ruoff was my dad's high school basketball coach, and my dad always spoke with great love and respect when he talked about Dan. The Drechsel family were close personal friends of the Johnson family. Remember the days when people would just go for drives in their cars for entertainment? Well, our family of 5 would pile into the car and either tour the countryside to check out the crops or drive around town and just stop to visit someone uninvited, unannounced. And the Drechsel home was often a stop for us. And when we got there, we were welcomed with food and lively conversation and lots of laughs. Dad was mayor of Ada in 1962, and that just gave him another platform from which to talk about this community. I can just imagine him in the elevator at the Curtis Hotel during that tournament. And he would be giving his elevator speech, bragging about the team and the whole community to anyone who was on the elevator with him, whether they were interested or not. His elevator speech, no matter where he gave it, was all about you. Dad died in 2000, so Dave and Lady Cougars, he never was involved in the excitement of that season. And I really can't believe he wasn't there. I had to go look at the numbers again and figure out the dates because it just seems like that kind of team should have had him there cheering. He would have been your #1 fan, along with your other #1 fans. And I think he would have also been giving you advice and helpful hints along the way, whether you wanted them or not. I'm sure that many of you here in this room and beyond in the community have received advice from Punk Johnson. Hey, I'm his child. I know about getting advice and helpful suggestions from Punk Johnson, whether I wanted them or not, or needed them or not. But I'd like to think that they were all given with the very best intentions to me and to everyone else. He loved this community, and he only wanted it to be the very best and the people in it to be their very best. He devoted his life to that lofty goal. Not only in athletics, but in all of life, he was your #1 fan.
Our next inductee into the inaugural class of 2021 at the Ada Borup West Hall of Fame is the 2008 Lady Cougar basketball team. I'd welcome head coach Dave Smart and possibly team members as well.
I got elected. We have, how many people did we have on the team? 12? 12 people. So we're missing a few starters, but you know, we're just expecting everybody to step up, be ready to play. So as you can see, they're all still in game form, ready to roll. We had a lot of fun that year. We played really well. Really the whole year. Our one loss was to Crookston, and Crookston went state that year as well, so no shame in that loss. That was where the one good Wallene player was. Camille, not Kenley. Sorry, those of you that are from here know that joke, but anyway, without the support of the parents, this team never would have accomplished what they did. Parents and those of you that are in coaching, you know how important parental support is, and not just during the season, but even more so during the off season. And we really had that, and that was huge. And really, the foundation of our success over the years has been parents telling their kids, you know, you need to get your butt to the gym and do something. So, which one wants to finish? Oh, and also, who would have ever thought last night I was down at the bar having a shot with these guys, so. Times change. Anyway, congratulations. And Punk did give me advice quite often. And you know what he told me about the girls? You got to get them to jump. You got to teach girls how to jump. And Punk bought us a, what is that thing called? The, you know, the thing with the shoulder in the weight room. I can't remember what it was, but Punk bought that. He said, you got to teach your girls how to jump, and this should help. So I don't know if any of them ever used it, but they did jump pretty well. So yeah, we love Punk. He stopped by our yard every time he drove by to remind us, you know, well, to remind me what I needed to do. But it was good. I love Punk. He was a great guy. So on behalf of the team, thank you very much.
Our next inductee is the 1962 boys basketball team. Team members that are here today, thank you for being here, and I welcome you forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Drevlow. I played center. This is going to get emotional right away, so excuse me. I'll get better. I played center and forward for the 62 basketball team. And I'd like to reiterate my thanks to everyone that participated in putting this event together, and to remember all of the teammates that can't be with us for either reasons of travel, sickness, or having passed on to a better life. So I'd just like to remember a few things that probably haven't been described in the radio interviews or other things. And one of them was, what was the most scary part of our participation in the tournament? And I think all my teammates will agree that it was riding up to some of the tournament games with Bill Brady in his car. That was always unique and scary. I would also like to acknowledge that you might have heard that the tournament record at Williams Arena was set on the afternoon that we played, something in the 19,000 bracket. And our record was preserved because they renovated the gym the next year and reduced the seating capacity by several thousand. So we retain our claim to fame for that matter. I would also like to suggest that there were many lifelong learning experiences that we were involved in, and I think our teammates all will agree that the most important of those was teamwork. We talked last night, and the emphasis was on our ability to play as a team, to work as a team, and to compete as a team. So I think that's important. But on the lighter side, I would like to acknowledge the ups and downs that we experienced in the tournament. We went from the total elation of winning the game against Bemidji up in Grand Forks and going to the state tournament. Total elation. We were disappointed. We went to the depths when we lost the next game to Danube by a single point or two. And we bounced back. We came back. We won our game with Crosby Ironton in a most monumental form, without Don Boyer throwing in a half-court throw from the floor to put us ahead, only to have it called back by a foul, and again we were behind. What were our chances to win? I don't know. I was completely exhausted at the time. I didn't know how I was going to go into an overtime period. But Don stepped forward to the line. He appeared calm. I don't know what was really going on in his guts, but he appeared calm and dropped both those free throws. And there we are, back in the winner's chair again, and accomplished something. Later, we also learned that we had limitations. We had burned our gas tanks dry over all those things and were pretty much unable to compete effectively in our final game. But I would also like to remember the appreciation that the fans and all of the people showed when we got off the train in Georgetown and the whole caravan coming up to Ada, the appreciation that was shown for our efforts and appreciation for what we were, just young guys working our butts off and having fun. All of those. My wife is used to me doing this, so don't worry about it. It just happens. But again, I'd like to thank everybody that was involved. I'd like to thank all of my teammates for all of their efforts and remind you that we didn't just start playing basketball. We had been playing football. We had been playing other things for a long time. So bringing our team together was just the culmination of all of those events and all of those activities. And I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to stand here, even if I'm fumbling and mumbling and sounding like an idiot. But thank you again.
I'm Louis Kappas, and I was just part of the team, but didn't play much. But I would like to thank the Ada Booster Club for all they did for us players. A lot of us were farm kids, and we needed rides home after the practices and sometimes after the game. So I'd just like to thank all the wonderful Ada sports boosters, and thank you very much for the opportunities you gave us.
I'm sure everybody has said some of the things that I thought when Darin was up here. I had a few notes that I was going to mention, and he pretty well took care of everything, and then some. But really, just a couple of quick little stories about a couple of the inductees. Dan Ruoff was the guidance counselor, and he was also the driver's training instructor. And I remember when it was my time to take driver's training. You know, growing up on a farm, you kind of get thrown into driving just about anything and everything. And I remember my dad taking me out into the field, and we had this Chevrolet truck, and there wasn't anything such as automatic transmissions then, of course, and you had to do the clutch and everything, and I could hardly reach it when we started to drive. But anyway, get back to the main point. Dan Ruoff was a driver's instructor, and so I came in for my first lesson, and he says, okay, we're just going to drive around town here. We got an hour's lesson, and we'll see what happens. And so he tells you do left turn, right turn, do this, do that, and come back and do a parallel park. And it was about 45 minutes. And he says, okay, Herb, you're done. And I said, done? What do you mean? Done. He says, well, normally we take 6 hours of driver's training for each, but he says, I think we're done. You don't need to come back. And I thought that was pretty neat. And that's just kind of I think the people that were our teachers in this system and our coaches and stuff, they realized things and they didn't need to put in their 6 hours to get paid for something that if they saw that you could do the job, they didn't milk the system, let's just put it that way. And so I kind of always remembered that, and he says, just go take your test and you'll pass, and I did. And our coaches in Ada, I was a freshman when Bill Brady came and Les Drechsel came, and I can remember the first meeting in the cafeteria, and Les was addressing the football team, and he was talking about this and that, and all of a sudden he says, who's the best football player in here? And there must have been, I don't know, 35 of us in the gym, and I'm a freshman sitting in the back, and I'm kind of looking around, well, this kid should throw up, and I thought maybe that kid should stand up, and well, nobody stood up. And all of a sudden, Les says, what's the matter with you guys? Every one of you should have stood up. And he was just telling us that if you have the attitude that you are the best, you can be the best. And it wasn't very long, and that was the fall of 1959, and that was the beginning, I think, of a little history that was made, because we went on to have a football record that was like, I think it was 26 straight or something like that before we were defeated, and that was the same thing with Coach Brady, and he was just an excellent coach. And I guess that's something that I always remember about it. And also Louis mentioned the fact that of the boosters and the people in the community. I lived on the farm, and my next oldest brother Merle was 4 years older, so I didn't have a driver's license when he went on to college. So I got rides home after games, after practices, just about every night until I got a license, and that was really a big thing back then. And I can't forget about my parents. There were three of us boys and two older sisters, but we always did chores with my mom and dad, but now I was the only one on the farm with my mother and dad, and of course the cows, they needed to be milked in the morning and the evening on schedule, and there were times when you had games out of town, I wasn't out there to help, but my mother went out and did the chores, and I really appreciated that. So that was the kind of attitude that people had in this community, and I appreciate it. And congratulations to all the other inductees. Everybody is has earned that right, and I really appreciate it. Jim and Kenley, an excellent job of putting this all together. One other quick thing, Dean Boyer couldn't be here. We've communicated here in the last week. As a matter of fact, we were driving back from the cities the other day, and he calls me on the phone, and we talked so long, I finally had to pull over on the side of the road to finish the conversation. It was just, I mean, and then just before we got started here today, he calls me again and he says, make sure that you say congratulations to all the inductees, and I'm sure we will. And Jim, thank you.
Well, now it's my turn. You know, I've been called a storyteller, and I will been known to talk as long as the time is needed to be filled, or as long as I want. So, Ever, if you thought yours was long, you're okay, buddy. 2 words to share to begin today. An honor. To be part of the inaugural class, I'm still surprised, humbled, grateful, and I ask myself, what did I do to deserve this? Kenley Wallin, or as I call him, Special K, says to me at church, "Hey, Burke, what are you doing this afternoon?" I said, "You know the routine. I get my nap, then I go to work. I'll call you this afternoon so we can talk about the press release for the Hall of Fame, because I got that about ready to go." All right. So he calls me. Unlike some other people, I answered the phone immediately. And he said, "Yeah," he goes, "You at work?" I said, "Yep." "Check your email," he goes, "I sent you the sample release." So I look at it. I said, "Special K, this is all wrong." "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's wrong." I said, "In your sample release," I said, "you put a photo of me in there and you have all this other stuff." I said, that's wrong." I said, "You have to change the sample." I said, "You can't send this, you can't post this on Facebook, you can't send this to the radio station, you can't send this to the newspaper, because I'm in there. You know, you got to take that out. That was just a sample." Well, anyway, the story goes forward. He convinced me that no, I was part of it. We exchanged some Sunday afternoon words that could not be said in church and cannot be repeated here this afternoon. But thank you very much. You know, I've had a great career, and I don't believe it's over yet. There's still some more things, more for me to accomplish. If I can, I'd like to share some of the story that has led to how or why I got here today into this position. I've had challenges from the start. There's been challenges. And when I know where I grew up, how I grew up, and the story of this radio broadcaster and the lifelong journey is truly, someday, I do want someone selfishly to write a book. Because the truth is, I can't write. When I was in English class, my English teacher, who was a veteran of the Army and was greatly known for his discipline with his crew cut haircut, said to me one day, "Hey, come back here to my desk." So I went back to his desk, and he said, "I hear you're going into broadcasting." I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "That's pretty good. He said, but I want to tell you something right now. He said, it's time for you to start doing your own English work, and you tell Joan, a classmate, you tell Joan she can start doing her own math. Up to that point in my life, we had a good thing going. Also, it's interesting that I would get into this career to work with educators and to spend time with educators and coaches, because it was a teacher, Mrs. Hayes, but I could call her Carol because they farmed down the road. She is the one that said to me when I was struggling, like, what am I going to do? She brought up radio broadcasting. To this day, I thank her. Also, I have to thank a former TV instructor. And I'll admit I say this thank you with a whole lot of sarcasm. Because I went to the radio TV school, and I must have done okay at radio, but the TV portion, my exit interview, there's maybe a reason why I didn't like the guy. My exit interview lasted 2 minutes, while everybody else in the class was in his office for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. And within those 2 minutes, he said to me, you better hope you get into radio, because you will never, ever get into TV. Thank you. So along the way, when Kenley Wallin interviewed me the other day, he asked me about some proud moments and some other things to share from the career. If I can also share just a little bit of another storyline to get us to today. My first broadcast was in 1981 at Blooming Prairie, Minnesota, while I was in radio TV school. My first job was in Carrington, North Dakota. My first broadcast, I got on the air for about 5 minutes, and I was cut off the air because a construction crew tore up the phone lines into the community of Maddock, North Dakota, and I never got back on the airwaves again. This is long before cell phones. I was never able to communicate with the radio station. So I thought, as a young 18, 19-year-old, what should I do? I stayed there through the remainder of the game. I kept book, kept stats, drove back to the radio station. The owner was wondering where in the hell I had gone, was not too impressed, but I went on the radio and gave a report, a recap of the game. I started to learn early on, in this business, you sometimes need to teach yourself. I would then go on to Fosston, Minnesota. It was a short 6-month stay. 6 months is part of my life, as you'll hear it a little bit more as we go along. I really wanted to be back in Minnesota. I should have been more patient. As I look back at the not good situation, it was one of the best things that happened to me in my career. As I was on the job for 15 minutes, I was informed, you will become, at the age of barely 20 years old, station manager. You will sign on and you will do sports, and you will, of all things that I did never wanted to hear in my life, you will sell advertising. I hated salespeople. It's the best thing that ever happened to me in my career. Is at that point, my career started. I went to Mayville, North Dakota. You hear the connections of Mayville State and so many of these other inductees. While I was there, I was blessed with great coaches, teams. I was full of energy, doing 175 to 200 games per year by myself. Started a Player of the Week show, hosted Player of the Year banquets, all area team banquets. and had a fantastic time. Then the opportunity to come to Ada, Minnesota. Moving to Ada in 1987, I'm proud to say October 1st will begin our 35th year in business. Moving here as a young radio guy who had hair, who had a wife and a 2-year-old son, starting a business that was off the air, had only been on the air for 18 months. What was I doing? 3 months prior to that, I had 2 job opportunities, one back near my hometown in southern Minnesota and one in Fargo, North Dakota. The one in Fargo, North Dakota, of all crazy things, when you're interviewing applicants about a job, you wonder, like, why do they say what they say? I turned down the job offer for this reason. I'm not wearing a tie. Despite the fact that it was a job offer that would pay me more than twice the money I was making, and I could get into the big market. So we moved to Ada. I knew in my heart, my own drive, my own passion, my determination. And on one of my first days, I'm sharing this with you because it's the truth. And also, it's because if you have your mind set to something that you want to do, you can do it. I was told I would last 6 months. So I'm telling you, every 6 months, I tell myself to this day, I've lasted 6 months longer. I've tried to bring energy, excitement, and passion to every broadcast. I've tried to make listeners feel that they're part of that broadcast. I've wanted to make coaches and players feel that it's something special. Those who really know me know that I have to get to the game early, that I have to do it my way, I have to set up a certain way. I'm superstitious. I will have a Diet Coke during the broadcast, at least one. For health reasons, I no longer eat as many peanut M&Ms as I once did. And for you ladies that are here from the 2008 team, I want to share with you as well that I no longer give candy to all the players like I once did with you ladies. I was getting peanut M&Ms from coaches and listeners for Christmas. It was crazy. Bernie, my wife, she's put up with a lot. Me never home. The aspects of a broadcaster's life that are not always enjoyable. Raising 4 kids. When we met, I was going to be a professional broadcaster. That was my dream, to do professional sports. She said, that won't work. So I said to her, you have the accounting degree. Someday, I'm going to own a business, and you're going to do books for me. I held up to that word. Also, she's held up to her word, allowing me to chase my dreams, live the life with passion while doing radio. I know nothing else, and someday I hope I can master this radio thing. The 4 kids, obviously they don't want to hear about you. Some days we didn't want to hear from you. Ben, your fiance, Shekinah, and Shekinah, we welcome you officially to the family in November. Jake, glad that you work for me, or most days now I'm working for you. Lauren and your husband Nick, and Elizabeth, and your friend John boy. We won't get into that story. Thank you for being good kids. Thank you for living in a home that was filled with radio, the broadcast stories, the scouting reports, the coaches' phone calls, and just living with a dad that was living radio. We're getting closer, and I know I'm getting longer, but I hope I can have your attention for a few more minutes. I was the little boy growing up knowing all the sports names. Nestler, 1972, St. James Saints, hits the game winner. I had to go outside and shoot the hoops so I could make the game winner, and I had to redo the play-by-play. Going to Sears to buy a cassette recorder at the young age so that I could record the Viking games off the TV, and I could go back and listen to the guys doing the play-by-play, and I could relive every sad moment of every Viking loss. And to the Minnesota Twins, I would listen to them on the radio. I had no idea that this radio thing would become what it has become at the time. Growing up on a farm, my dad worked for a farmer who became blind. He was the first guy that showed me how to drive tractor because I had to be his eyes while he had the foot that could reach the clutch. But I learned from him something that I didn't learn at the time, or I didn't realize I was learning. How radio impacted him, and it was his guide. The sound of the radio allowed him to walk from one side of the farmyard to the other, and the information and the content that was so valuable because he could no longer see to read. Then it was in 1988 or 1989, I forget, living here in Ada, First Avenue East, the Yellow House. After a tournament season, I came home all frustrated. I said to Bernie, I said, there is no way in hell that I will ever get to do a state tournament game with what's going on around here. She said, hang in there. She said, someday you will. Again, you were right. Since October 1st, 1987, I have tried to do my best. I've tried to paint the picture on the radio broadcast. I've tried to support the teams, the kids, the community, the school. I've taken great pride in broadcasting games being fair, equal to both sides. It's honestly one of the best compliments I've had throughout my career when people come and say, you treat everybody fairly. Speaking of being fair, 4 things come to my mind. After my first football broadcast of my young career, my boss came to me and he said, you suck. You either get better by game 2 or you're gone. So I did week 2. Nothing was said. I went to week 3, and after week 3, I felt that I was accepted. But I have never lost track of continuing to work and work hard to try to get better. Kevin Harlan, voicing the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was doing Cougar games in the old high school, and I would start calling it the Cougar Den, and the three-point shot became a thing. And all of a sudden, Burke could start being more of Burke. 3, good. My style was my style. I would nickname gymnasiums, I would nickname players, I would nickname coaches, and I would have the fun while still being serious. My wife, my oldest son, Ben, among many mistakes I've made as a husband, father, and broadcaster, it was Ben's first appearance on the varsity football team as a quarterback. I still remember it. I'm at the Johnson Sports Complex looking down. Cougars are going from south to north, right to left. Ben drops back to pass, looks to the left side, near side, Cougar sideline. It's a 9-yard pass, deflected, caught by his teammate, and I, in only my wisdom as a broadcaster, said, better to be lucky than good. It's the last time I said it. I got home that night, and my wife, you have to remember, has never critiqued me about my play-by-play. She said to me, you said what about my son? You said what about your son? She said, you have never said that about any other athlete, and you say it about our child. The lesson was this: when you're broadcasting your kids' games, you treat them fairly as well. And when you're broadcasting your kids' games, you remember to just be the broadcaster that you are. Be who you are and call the game. Don't worry about what other people think. That's their problem. I guess I listened through the years as my children played. I had people come to me and say, if we didn't know they were your kids, we wouldn't know any different. The toughest part has been coming home to your kids after their season-ending game, and especially after a tough loss to end a career at the high school level. And you knew that you remained professional on the radio, talking with the opposing coaches, opposing players, because you would treat them fairly for their performance, and you would treat their community and their school with respect, and you would still do your job. But then you couldn't wait to get home so that in your own privacy you could shed those tears in support of your kids. The other toughest part has been when you go to funerals of community members and you hear your name being mentioned in the eulogy, of them listening to you and what it meant to them or to their family. Tough, but a true compliment. Thank you to so many. There's no way I'll get through all the names of 34 years here in Ada, and with Ada Borup, and now Ada Borup West. Thank you to my employees. I've had great employees through the years, and I have great employees today. They all know, you know, I no longer do every Cougar sporting event. I do Lady Cougar basketball. I love sports. I wish I could do it all day long, but my business life has changed. I'm enjoying the other challenges that have come with business and the opportunities. I'd like to recognize and thank coaches for really special times, relationships, and memories. Dave Smart, Ruth Hayden, Mike Gutlingsrud, Nathan Cubrager, and Jeff Stone. I'd like to thank administration for their support through the years. Don Valinga, I will never forget being in Don's house while he worked with people from FEMA to build this new school after the flood. I will never forget standing with Don Valinga on the steps going down into the basement of the old high school when he was standing next to James Lee Witt, director of FEMA at the time, and him with tears in his eyes telling James Lee Witt, you have to give us the money so we can build a new school. The late Jim Christensen. He was a true sports guy, loved sports. As we called him JVC, he and I didn't see eye to eye on why I said there will be an Ada Borup Booster Club at the time. He wanted nothing to do with it. I said in one of my final meetings with him, JVC, I'm going to tell you this. Don Valinga is your boss and I have him in my hip pocket. This is going to happen. And we continued with our relationship, which was fantastic. Olin Church, Sam Merrick, Superintendent currently Aaron Cook, AD Kelly Anderson, and now AD Kenley Wallin. all the athletes, all the listeners, players and coaches who have trusted me to tell me everything, more than I should ever know. There's a lot of privacy up here. It's been more than just game broadcasts, Pep Fest, state tournaments, scouting with coaches, girls basketball team talks, other broadcaster conversations, just the life of a radio broadcaster as I see it. It's been great to me. The Cougars have been great to me. I was thinking, for over the past 30 years, I think every student who has come into this building, I have interviewed or talked to at least once throughout their days in school, from Christmas with the kids as first graders, interviews with organizations, all of the athletics, and everything involved. I've attended 90 to 95% of all school board meetings in these years. In closing, my first Minnesota broadcast on KRJB was the Audubon Zephyrs versus Norman County West football. My second game was the Ada Borup Cougars volleyball and Coach Judy Peterson at Fertile Bell Trammy. I stand here today, Ada Borup, Norman County West, that began my career here at KRJB out of Ada, Minnesota. Maybe it's appropriate now today when I say Ada Borup West. But to stand in front of you and know deep down that I have some years left in me, physically, I'm hoping I have some years left in me, and to know that I've always done this with that passion, the caring for people, the caring for the community, and the caring for the school. It's been a great ride. So when that day comes, with the headset and the microphone to no longer be placed on the head and that microphone to be turned on again, I will be able to say, I'm the Burke saying, so long everyone, and I'm proud to be a member of the Ada Borup West Hall of Fame. No, I'm not going to give another 52-minute speech. Did you catch that? Paul, this will not be another 52-minute speech. In closing, on behalf of the Ada Borup West Hall of Fame Committee and the Ada Borup West Activities Department, we thank you again for being here, for making this a very special day. Congrats to all inductees and to your families and friends. We will continue with the opportunity for photos to be taken here in the multipurpose gym or where you would like. And also there will be the opportunity to tour the facilities and to see what this campus is all about. It's a fabulous facility that we can all be proud of. It shows the progress of the community and the opportunities that we will have for years to come. Thank you.